Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Galatians chapter 4, verses 4 through 6. When the fullness of the time was come, Elohim sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoptions of sons. And because you are sons, Elohim has sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Abba Yah.
I need you more than The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
All right. Georgia, and I want to, praise Yahweh for our choir and our selection this morning. It's one of those things that when you walk in this word, there's certain things that you end up having to deal with that the other people who are just dealing with things on the surface don't have to deal with. There's one thing, even when we talk about, singing, we listen to, these songs and we say, that was a good song. But then you have to consider something. No Christian choir has ever had to deal with the constant loss of some of their voices because they don't have any protocol for clean and unclean. Everybody shows up. You have to understand that when you're walking in the word, there's a certain amount of affliction that goes with that already. That there may be one Sabbath where a song has to completely be changed around because of who may be out. And sometimes you have multiple voices out at the same time. That's not something that Christians or Hebrew Christians, because there's a lot of those too. There's a whole lot of congregations where people will say they're Hebrew Israelites or they walk observing Messianic Judaism, and you find when you watch that choir song, you say, that woman been in there for 52 weeks straight. They can't be observing no protocol. Matter of fact, all of them have been in there 52 weeks straight. There can't be no protocol going on right there, and we don't even consider what that means. But what that means as a family, then that means that somebody else has to come and step in and step in the place where somebody else is normally accustomed to standing and may even be better suited to stand, but now somebody else has to stand. Well, that ends up giving the family an opportunity to get some other works that they might not normally have the opportunity to do. So even in the affliction, Yahweh still provides some very key things, and that's something that we have to consider. It is written that you are bought with a price, and we have to consider that price had affliction in it. All right. It says that the law was our schoolmaster to lead us unto the Mashiach. Now, how that's taught on Sunday morning is that the law is done away with. When it says that the law was our schoolmaster, it was talking about the law as it pertains to animal sacrifice. That was our schoolmaster to lead us to the Mashiach, which is a perfect sacrifice, so that nothing else can be offered at this time better than a sinless individual. So we have to consider that. From the minute the first sin was committed, Yahweh knew the affliction that was going to be involved in your redemption. From the minute it was done, a course had to be made for the redemption of Israel, for the redemption of man. Even before Israel has come to be, a redemption plan is in the works. But for him to do that, you have to understand something. We're talking about Adam and Eve. We're talking about man, woman, general. Yahweh has to then go through the process of setting up his holy family and bringing a savior through the holy family. So that's why the law was a schoolmaster to bring us to the Mashiach. There wasn't a suitable offering found. So that affliction had to take a path, a course. So this is why when you read in the beginning and you start talking about Abraham having to offer up Esaac, Yahweh already understood this is the plan that's going to have to be made for your redemption. There's affliction in that. So when it says that you were bought with a price, you have to consider the affliction that you were purchased with, and then consider that affliction as we get ready to keep our holy days. And a lot of times we don't want to be inconvenienced. And you have to think about the inconvenience of the path that Yahweh had to create for your redemption. I mean, he understands immediately all this work that has to be done. Did you eat from that tree? This ain't gonna be no easy path. He can't just bring somebody in. It's y'all too. You decide to follow your woman. There is no person. There's no intermediary here. You took out all options. Another path is going to have to be found. And it took a considerable amount of time for that path to be laid. And that needs to be a attention getter to all men who are the head of their households. If you decide to follow the path that's laid out in your house by your significant other, if that path leads no available opportunity for you to help redeem your house, you have put your house on a path. It may take a while before that path is cleared out. But that was because you left it with no opportunity for you to help redeem it, because you chose to go along. And I don't think we consider that. Let's begin today's sermon in Leviticus chapter 23. And today's sermon is entitled afflicting thy soul.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yah.
Right. Now, it is, often talked about that, of course, when you deal with atonement, that we're talking about the holiest day of the year. The way the adversary works is he wants to put everything on an even playing field. But the fact that if anything is the est, it ain't regular. If it's the meanest, it can't be equal to regular mean. If it's the nicest, it can't be equal to regular nice. If it's the holiest, it's got to be above regular holy. But what the adversary operates in is putting everything on an even playing field.
Ain't no such thing as gender. See, you don't have male and female. You just got people.
I listened to a guy say that he was speaking to a woman, and he said his wife said the woman decided that she was going to correct him and said, "You mean your partner?" See, this is the even playing field. Now, a wife can't even be a wife. A wife is a partner. That way, when the other people say their partner, you can't tell the difference between who's married to the opposite sex and who's married to the same sex. Because they have replaced husband and wife, or in the process, and just saying partner. So now married people are being called partners. That's how the adversary works. We're going to take away all options and put everything on an even playing field. That's how they play with Yahweh's holy days. They're not holy anymore. They're just like any other day. And if you pay attention, this is what they've been doing with the Sabbath. What they say every day is holy. I remember hearing T.D. Fake say it. Monday's holy, Tuesday's holy, Wednesday's holy. Now every day is just like the Sabbath. There's no difference. That's the work of the adversary, the devil. Yahweh said that this day was set apart. The adversary says something different. Go ahead.
And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your El. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
Right. So this is where, and we talked about a part of this in Bible study, that there was, and I tell people, be careful about listening to everybody and looking at every video. There were people that came around passing out videos, passing out links. It should have been Mr. and Mrs. Links. They just passed out links. That's what they did.
Check this link out. Check that link out.
They were just Mr. and Mrs. Links came in and just started passing out links. And you got some people that's saying, there's all affliction is not working. And of course, some privileged people, maybe that's an affliction to you. But for the rest of us, that's not affliction. See, so you got to be careful, because all these links end up pulling people off in strange directions. And some people never came back. Consider yourself blessed that you were able to maintain following all them links. Go ahead.
And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Shabbat.
All right, and we understand why we start at even. Everything that is the beginning of that day, so that you have the opportunity to be spiritually clean at the minute that we start those things, especially when we are making appearances. So then You look at it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and this is the part that we have to deal with in verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, comma, and you shall afflict. What the adversary, the devil, wants to do is to merge the affliction with the Sabbath day and call them the same thing. And because all of these individuals sound so articulate, they sound so educated, they can show you their degrees, they can show you all of these things, then now you're succumbing to the link.
Well, you know what? Maybe they are right. You know, that person has a PhD. You know what? Sock don't have no PhD. Maybe they just know something he don't know. Maybe they are super smart. So we so busy at that point, we have been, remember now, it only take one word. The adversary, the devil said, you shall not surely die. He didn't just outright call Yahweh a liar. What he did was offer a small diversion. Just slight. Surely. Not Shirley. Surely. That's it. That's all he needs to lead you off. That's it. He don't need a whole bunch, just a little bit. And they like to skip past the pronunciation, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and. They take out the and. Let me show you how different this is if you take out the and. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. You shall afflict your souls. We can take out but one word. One word completely changed the direction. But then again, why do you think he said, if you add unto this, I'm going to give you curses. If you take away from this, I am going to give you curses. We didn't take out nothing but an and. I said, how important can an and be? I mean, just an and.
Let's go through some definitions right here, because I want you to read the definition for afflict.
From H6031, ana, to depress literally or figuratively, transitively or intransitively in various applications.
I can tell you was raised on the other part of the island, because I had a problem with that word when I looked at it. And I mean, you just rolled it right off there. So that's that King's English right there. You know what I'm talking about? That's that King English. So you can tell who got oppressed by the daughter of Babylon and who got oppressed by Babylon. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? He was oppressed by the mama. Go ahead, dog. Go ahead, man.
Base self, afflict, chasten self, deal hardly with, defile, exercise, force, gentleness, humble self, hurt, ravish.
All right, so then we're talking about some various ways. There are many different ways that one can be afflicted. Now let's read the definition for Shabbat. And there's more than one.
From H7676, Sabbath or Shabbat. Intensive from H7673, intermission, that is, specifically the Sabbath.
All right, so intermission, a pause. There's a pause in the things that are done. Go to the next definition. It pushes us to H7673. Let's go read it.
Shabbat, a primitive root to repose, that is, desist from exertion. Used in many implied relations, causatively, figuratively, or specifically, cause to, let, make to cease, celebrate, cause, make to fail, keep, Sabbath, suffer to be lacking, leave, put away, or put down, make to rest, rid, still, take away.
All right, so now let's go to another one. Go to the next one.
Sabbath, rest, H7677.
So then we had H7676, H7673, and H7677. Go ahead.
Shabbaton.
Shabbaton. Go ahead.
From H7676, a Sabbatism or special holiday.
Or special holiday. So then you have all of these things that are set for Sabbath. There are several different ways in which that word can be used. Okay? And then there are different words for the same thing, but they're a tad bit different depending on how they are being used. So now let's go to Genesis chapter 3. See, and just the thing that was given unto Abraham to tell him that you need to sacrifice this child, this promise that I have given unto you. That was an affliction itself. It said it took 3 days' journey. Do you understand what's going through his mind in 3 days? There's this affliction that he's going on. Remember, it says to deal with this internally, inside, in yourself. He has affliction on his way. We like to count the situation. See, this is our problem. We like to deal with the end result and ignore the path that was taken to get there. So we look like, he offered up something, but y'all, we gave him back. He gave him back. He ain't have to offer him. We just like to jump to the end. We don't understand the affliction and the anguish that he's going through the entire time he's heading there. Then he has this little innocent child saying, Father, where's the sacrifice? Do you understand what kind of affliction it is for you to look at this kid and say, Yahweh will provide him a sacrifice, a lamb for the sacrifice? You hoping Yahweh is going to provide a lamb for the sacrifice. But that's where your affliction is. Because you're hoping you're not going to lose this boy, but you believe in Yahweh so much that you say, all right, if I have to, he going to find a way to give him back. But he ain't told you he going to give him back yet. So then you are being afflicted on the path. And the first time we get on the path and get afflicted, woe is me. You were bought with a price. Do you not understand that? There's affliction in the pre-purchase. Esau didn't go through it. He was just a vision of what was going to happen. It was affliction in the pre-purchase. So of course there's going to be affliction when Yahshua get here. Go ahead, brother.
Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has Elohim said you shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
So the serpent was more subtle, which means that the adversary, the devil, picked the serpent to use. You should examine yourself and see what qualities you possess that would make the adversary say, this is who I'm going to use. He had certain qualities that the adversary said, oh, this what I'm going to use right here. Oh, I love the way that forked tongue, where he can say one thing but really saying something else. I love this forked tongue. We're going to use this. He's smooth. I like the way he moves. Yes, I'm going to use this. Go ahead.
And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.
Right. So then he's getting you to go over this thing. And of course, it's something that was told to her. But he's getting her to recite this and also at the same time testing her knowledge of the instruction. Go ahead.
And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die.
But he didn't change nothing but one word. He threw in a knot. Yahweh said, You shall surely die. You shall not surely die. He said it or not. Go ahead.
For Elohim does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened.
Now, that part's true. Go ahead.
And you shall be as gods,
That part is true. Go ahead.
knowing good and evil.
That part is true. The only problem was the not. All the other part's true. See, once we say, oh, he'll lie, everything he's saying is a lie. No, it's not. It just twisted it just a little. Go ahead.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
All right, so, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, here's the part where we assume something by the instructions. He said, the instruction said, you shall not eat of it, for you will die. What the adversary wanted to show, it is good for food. It's not poison. See, here's our mind. If it's poison and I eat it, then I'm going to die immediately. Wasn't that type of poison. It was the poison of understanding. It was the poison of knowledge if it's not directed in the right way. It's the poison of knowledge that you get before the time you're supposed to get it. So when she saw that it was good for food, this is the first part of her decision making. It is good for food. So now the questioning to Yahweh now seems like it has a basis. He told me I was going to die. This is good for food. Matter of fact, it tastes pretty nice. Now he's effectively gotten Yahweh's creation to question him. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8, and we're going to read verses 1 through 20.
All the commandments which I command you this day shall you observe to do, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers. And you shall remember all the way which Yahweh your Elohim led you these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you and to prove you, to know what was in your heart.
To know what was in your heart. Go ahead.
Whether you would keep his commandments or no. And he humbled you and suffered you to hunger.
He humbled you and suffered you to hunger. You when you get right down to it, that very first sin was all about eating. And you can't understand why that part of afflicting ourselves would be to stop eating. And here he goes, and part of his humbling process, he takes food away. Go ahead.
And fed you with manna, which you kneweth not, neither did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread only, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh does man live.
He's going to teach you that, it's certain things that we don't really consider. He fed you with manna. All right? There's a lot of times that people say, you know what, I'm gonna be a vegetarian. But what they don't do is get enough nutrients. They just eat the same thing and then just be dwindling away and having all kind of health issues, always sick. He's like, wait a minute, I thought you was vegetarian. Yeah, but they're not eating enough stuff to understand food is our medicine. All right? They're eating one thing, yet they're completely healthy. You eat one thing today, I can guarantee you're gonna die. I don't care what you can be a vegetarian, a meatitarian, you can be I don't care what you eat one thing. See how fast you die.
So I'm a pescatarian.
A what? A what? What's that? The pescatarian, don't eat nothing but pasta. Yeah, he won't be here long. He's not going to be here long. They could eat this one thing. See, this is the point that Yahweh, when you're talking about a bunch of farmers, they understand that you got to eat different things, all right? They eat one thing and completely healthy. He's doing some mind things now. You ain't had no broad range of vegetables. You ain't had no broad range of fruit. I gave you one thing. Yet, look at you. Your shoes ain't even getting old on you. Your shoes still look like they new. So, your nutrients is not what's preserving you. I am what's preserving you. Go ahead.
Your raiment waxed not old upon you,
Uh-huh.
neither did your foot swell these 40 years.
Your raiment wax not old upon you. Now, our clothing just get old in our mind. It don't really be old.
You know what? I'm tired of wearing this right here.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. We just tired of wearing it. It's old in our brain. That's why you go to the Goodwill and find some good stuff. Somebody just got tired of it. Go ahead.
You shall also consider in your heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh your Elohim chastens you. Therefore, you shall keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim to walk in his ways and to fear him. For Yahweh your Elohim brings you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains, and depths that spring out of valleys and hills.
Right. And but before I can give you this, I need to starve you a little bit so that you learn how to appreciate what you're about to get. Do we ever consider that? Before you bring something in the house, did you create a little starvation first? Because, if you just go and you go out to eat all the time, your kids just get to the point they just expect it. Then you get there, they don't eat half the food, they throw it away. They take one sip out the drink, leave it on the counter. Hey, man, and then you just put the straw in it. You could have spread that. I could have drunk that. Somebody else could have drunk that before you put, then you put backwash in there. Ain't nobody drinking that with that backwash in there. You didn't even care nothing about nobody when you hadn't even finished chewing and you put the straw in there and put that backwash right there in the drink. And then you ain't want no more to drink. So what you gotta do? Not get them nothing for a minute. Next time you come through the door, everybody else gonna tell them.
No backwash. You remember last time what happened? Hey, look, make sure we eat all this. Hold on.
Learn from your Elohim. Go ahead.
Verse 8, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein you shall eat bread without scarceness. You shall not lack anything in it.
You shall not lack anything, but to prepare you for that, I'm going to make you lack. So that you might appreciate having it in abundance. We all think that we're going to be appreciative. The more we get, sometimes the worse we get. Go ahead.
A land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you may dig brass. When you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless Yahweh Elohim for the good land which he has given you. Beware that you forget not Yahweh Elohim in not keeping his commandments, and his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you this day.
So then Yahweh was automatically concerned that when you are full, you're going to forget me. Now consider the hunger portion then. If he's afraid that when you are full, that you are going to forget him, you then understand the purpose of hunger. This seems to be when you catch amnesia. When I give you the house you want, the car you want, the woman you want, the man you want, all of a sudden, Now, this is in the beginning. Yahweh already knows the manner of Israel. You're going to forget me once I give you all this stuff that you're asking for. Go ahead.
Least when you have eaten and are full,
Uh-huh.
and have built goodly houses and dwell therein,
Uh-huh.
and when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold is multiplied,
Uh-huh.
and all that you have is multiplied,
Uh-huh.
then your heart be lifted up,
This is us.
and you forget Yahweh your Elohim,
This is us.
which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
I did this. You see how I climbed up the ladder? You see how I did that? I got a promotion here. I got a promotion there. I got a promotion everywhere. You see that? I did that.
Me. That's who. Right. Go ahead.
Who led you through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions, and drought, where there was no water, who brought you forth water out of the rock of flint.
Right. I purposely led you through the difficult path. I could have led you straightway right into that. We'd have been in there in 11 days. But I took this journey so that I can mentally and spiritually prepare you for being masters of your own destiny. Go ahead.
Who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers knew not, that he might humble you, and that he might prove you to do you good at your latter end.
So he's taking from you so that he can give you more. What does it say? Any tree that he finds that bring forth fruit, he purges it so that it bring forth more fruit. Go ahead.
And you say in your heart, my power and the might of mine hand has gotten me this wealth.
Ain't that he know us from the beginning? We ain't changed. We the same old chips off the same old raggedy block. We still doing the same thing today.
I got this degree. I don't see God's name on here. That's right. I did that. I didn't see God in those study classes. That was me. I did that.
Go ahead.
But you shall remember Yahweh your Elohim, for it is he that gives you power to get wealth.
No, I was in there digging those holes and digging those trenches and worked my way on up the ladder. I did that. God went out there with me. I was the only one out there sweating.
He know his people. He know us. From the beginning of the book to the end. Go ahead.
That he may establish his covenant which he sware unto your fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if you do at all forget Yahweh your Elohim, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that you shall surely perish. As the nations which Yahweh destroyed before your face, so shall you perish, because you would not be obedient unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim.
Right. So Yahweh is aware of how Israel operates. And he's giving us the warning beforehand that you are going to forget all of these things that were given unto you as soon as you get out of the desires of your heart. And I'm warning you now that when it happens, I am going to deal with you. And we sit there like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then we get that, what we asked for. And certain things we don't understand why Yahweh won't let us get it. Because he's looking at it and saying, this going to destroy you. No, but this is what I want. No. When you get this, you're not going to do nothing else that you're supposed to be doing. You the reason why I ain't giving this to you yet. If you stand up, I'll give you that thing that you're asking for. But I can't give it to you now. You ain't figured out how to stand. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11. We all the time think we waiting on Yahweh. The whole time he waiting on us. My father owned everything. I don't need no money. All I need is my daddy to say I can have it. Just like how you gonna get that you broke? My daddy rich though. I got inheritance. I got all kind of stuff I can't afford. Don't ask me how that happened. He does what he does. I go to a place for one thing, they say, no, you're going to get this one. No, I'm not. I can't afford that one. Somehow, I walk away with it. And I'm normally at my brokest when I get it. That's how Yahweh makes sure. It don't be like, man, I done stacked up some money. Man, I'm finna go get such and such. I'll be broke, it'll be lint, and a half a Wrigley's chewing gum in my pocket. And I'll leave out with the finest thing they got in there. I have no idea. I think Yahweh made me completely broke so I'd understand. You do know this ain't you, right? You do understand this ain't you, right? I want to make sure you absolutely just, broke. I mean, not a little broke. I mean, broke. To the point where you want to, when somebody says, you got a piece of gum? Well, you can split this half. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't give you no whole stick. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I ain't really got it like that. And then you still go get something. No. He was making a point. You are not getting this. You know, people come and people want to partake in something. When we got this place, we were the brokest bunch of individuals you had ever seen in your life. We was trying to get some decrepit spot in the back downstairs. Y'all always know you're not getting that spot. You're not getting that little decrepit little spot. That's for the storage people. We're not giving that, you know what I'm saying? Those are for those of the baser sorts. We're going to let them have that. You going to be in the front. I'm like, I can't afford none of that. I can barely afford the little stuff in the back. They said, no, you're going to get this one. Once again, I had that lint and that half piece of Wrigley's still in my pocket and still walked away with the Wrigley's. I still had enough to chew after this was gone. See, that's how you God do you. See? So I ain't worried about, all that other stuff. I take care of his business, he gonna take care of mine. Go ahead, brother, did you finish that?
Hey, man, he let us spy out the land, too.
Yeah, he sure did. Sent us here for one thing, and we don't even know what we really here for. We over there where the sisters at taking a class. Yahweh was laughing. These got to be the dumbest dudes ever. Who is as blind as a servant that I've sent? Look at it. He don't even know where he at. He don't even know that this is where they gonna be. And tried to run us out of here though. Not us, but made the missus upset. Boy, the adversary's slick, boy, he's slick. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11. And we're gonna start that at verse 1.
And when the people complained, it displeased Yahweh. And Yahweh heard it, and his anger was kindled.
The people complained, and it displeased Yahweh. See, there are certain things that people ain't got to run to Yahweh and tell him about. He understands what has been done and what has not been done. He understands that who's afflicting themselves for the situation and who's not. See, time and time again, we have situations where the same individuals put in, the same individuals do all the work, the same individuals pay for all the things when it comes down to feasts, and then you have people who just come and partake. Those days gone. We doing our thing by registration. That registration is time. You don't get yours in, you're going to be having a holy day in the parking lot. Once we reach capacity, it's a done deal. We're not finna keep letting the same people pay for everything, do all the work, be afflicted, sacrificing their time, their money, and half the time, it's people who I got to get their money back to them because they can't afford it. Then the people who can afford it ain't doing nothing. We're not gonna keep letting that happen. If you don't get an email, don't show up. Once we reach capacity, that's it. I'm not going to take loyal people. And we have loyal people who y'all ain't never seen. Because they don't live here. They making that trip, they going to get a seat. Somebody who showed up next week or last week ain't finna push them out their chair. We're not finna let that keep happening. That's over. Go ahead, brother.
And the fire of Yahweh burned among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moshe, and when Moshe prayed unto Yahweh, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of Yahweh burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat?
You see how we are influenced by the people we are around. See, this is why Yahweh said, don't be amongst these people. And we think, that meant, see, Yahweh is saying that, we are so much better than those people. Like, nah, you worse than them people. Them people at least know why they worshiping what they worshiping. You just gonna worship it because you hanging out with them. See, when the Gentiles do Christmas, they do Christmas. They go all out. They ain't getting a little tree from Target. They going and cut them a tree down. They gonna keep the whole 12 days of Christmas. They gonna have the Yule logs. They gonna have all that. They going all the way out. They know what they doing. We don't even understand it and half do it wrong. But we are the ones who will fight you.
I feel sorry for your kids. You don't even let your kids keep Christmas. I feel sorry for your kids. Your kids are being deprived.
Right. That'll be us. That'll approach us with that. You feel sorry for my kid. You sitting here lying to your kids, having them worship other gods, and they gonna get stuck with that false worship and carry on that false worship to their kids. But you feeling sorry for mine. Right. Go ahead.
We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely.
You see Israel? You see Israel? See, this is why Yahshua said, some of y'all only showed up because the multitude ate. Some of y'all follow me because y'all saw the healing. And then there's a bunch of y'all who just hungry. This Yahshua now, this Christ himself. There's some of y'all just can't eat. Not for the spiritual food. You can't eat the natural bread. Look at us. We were the same in the beginning. And then Yahshua has to say this all the many decades, generations later, same thing. Here we go. We remember the fish. We reminiscing about meals. Never mind the captivity. We don't look past the slavery, but do you remember that fish though? Go ahead.
The cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes.
Our soul is dried away. Understand? Here they said cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. They're talking about a broad range of things to eat. Now all we have is this one thing. Yet they have lacked nothing in their body and their spirit. Only their mind is bothered by eating the same thing. Which is a part of the affliction that he is doing to them to get them ready so that they might be thankful about what they're about to receive and not lose it. Go ahead.
And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof was as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it.
Okay, pause for a second. All right, they did everything, and that's us now. We found a way to cook something. All right, you give us anything. Look, y'all know them nasty chitterlings that they used to throw over the fence. Leave it up to us. We found a way. We found a way to eat those chitterlings. They just threw away part of that pig. We found a way to get that stink out of it. Look at. We got all these manner of ways that we're going to do this, but you have to pay attention to this last part. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. What What does oil taste like?
Nasty.
You know, it throw you off because it say fresh. What's fresh about oil? In other words, they're not getting the taste. See, even when people say, you know, I'm a vegetarian, let me tell you something. You would love to have a vegetable if all you had was oil. The taste of it was as fresh oil. They're not getting, there's a part of an enjoyment that we get out of eating, not out of eating oil. You ever had a brother, man, I can't wait to get home, man, I'm going to get me a nice little quarter cup of oil. What? You ever heard a brother say that? It tastes like oil. How is that inviting? So he's not giving them food for their taste buds. He's giving them food for their sustenance. Ooh. Go ahead.
Then Moshe heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled greatly. Moshe also was displeased.
The people are upset.
Man, he giving us this tasteless stuff. I don't even know what this is. What do you even call this?
I don't know.
That's what the name of it is. I don't know. What it tastes like? I don't know.
That was why it was called manna. Because they were like, I don't know. What is it? I don't know. What it tastes like? I don't know. Well, what it look like? I don't know. Ain't nothing else ever looked like this. I don't know what this is. We don't even consider that's part of an affliction. Sometimes we get something, man. Watch some people, before they even taste the food, watch them douse the salt on it. They hadn't even tasted it yet. They hadn't even,
They already, hey, how you doing? Yo, got some hot sauce.
you ain't even tasted it yet.
You don't even know what it tastes like. And you already going salt, pepper, hot sauce.
How about taste it first? So then you understand the anguish that they're going through. They're eating something, but they're not getting the fulfillment in their mouth the way that they are accustomed to. Go ahead.
What's the first question somebody asks when you introduce them to something new? What it
Well,
tastes like?
hey, yeah. Well, it tastes like chicken is what they always tell us. Right here, they couldn't answer that. Man, I ain't never tasted nothing like this. So what is it? I don't know. What it tastes like? This right here. And many a times I have read that, but never really got to the point of it tastes like fresh oil. But that is not appealing. But yet Yahweh got upset when we complain. Ooh. And we think we so ready for everything. He's upset. Go ahead.
You know, it's interesting though when you said fresh oil, because used oil is gonna have a taste. It's gonna have the taste of whatever
you cook,
right.
Whatever you cook
Yep.
with it. You know, sometimes that's how you can tell you went to a restaurant and your fish sandwich tastes like chicken and your chicken tastes like fish.
You know what? Y'all done use that oil over there.
That's why when I used to go to the country, you know, my grandma, she was old Southern down there, and you know, they took it personally if you didn't eat. Baby, I made you. I knew if I'd known you were coming, I would have made you a whole dinner. That's why I didn't tell you. See, because my life done changed. I grew up in it, and it just turns into an argument. What you mean you ain't gonna eat no pork chop? Grandma, I don't eat that no more. What? I have that conversation every year like we didn't have this conversation before. And I know you ain't see now. You understand what I'm saying. You ain't forgot that conversation. I done already told you. I don't eat this. Well, I'll just make you some chicken. Well, no, Grandma, because you collected that grease. after you had already cooked some pork chop. Oh, so now you don't do pork chop grease either? No! I don't do pork chop grease. I eat the chicken, I smell, I taste 3 different meals. It's fish, it's chicken, it's pork chop, and every bite, it's a different taste in the chicken.
That was a chicken chop. That was a pork chop.
That was a, nah, I can't eat that. So then, I don't want to make a problem, so I purposely stop and get my kids fast food. They love this part right here. They love it.
Oh, yes. Yes, Daddy, do your thing. Like, let's go. I want a cheeseburger.
I understand. Oh, they ordering. And they know the game. I already told them. All right, nobody throw away their cup. So why? Because we got to have the appearance that we just ate. Every now and then, I need somebody to just do this. Yeah. Because she's going to keep offering you food over and over again. And every time, just pick up the cup. Show them the cup.
You see, we just went out, right?
So, hey, boy. So this oil thing, like he said, if you done cook something else in the oil and they keep that oil got taste. Fresh oil is nothing. I'm ashamed to tell y'all this. I got set up at the house one time, right? See, it's a little bit too much laughing going on in that other room. Let me tell you, I got really upset because I said, who does this? They're gonna take the oil, right? And they pouring the oil in a container. Why they put the oil in the apple juice container?
Same color.
So y'all know what happened next, right? So I done poured this big old tall cup of apple oil. And I'm taking it down. And everybody just, they thought it was the funniest thing ever happened in life. It was a dirty trick. To this day, nobody's allowed to put oil in the apple juice container ever again in my house. There's rules. You have to make house rules. All right? No more oil in apple juice containers. I wasn't paying attention. If I'd have saw it, that's some thick juice. I should have, but I wasn't focusing on the juice itself. I saw the color and I started pouring. All right? And I glanced off to the side, and then I took it to the head, and it didn't go well. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Numbers chapter 11 and verse 11. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, wherefore have you afflicted your servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in your sight, that you laid the burden of all this people upon me?
Right. There's even affliction in the servant who's trying to save them.
But we don't want to be afflicted.
There's affliction in every part of this journey. Go ahead.
Have I conceived all this people? Have I begotten them, that you should say unto me, carry them in your bosom?
Hey, this is pretty hefty talk to be talking to your Elohim. See, this is what happens when a man gets ticked off. He forget who he talking to. Every now and then you have to remind your kids who they talking to. You be like, I ain't gonna do something.
Just trying to make sure gravity still works.
Who are you talking to?
My bad. I had a moment.
You about to have another moment. I mean, he getting out down now. Go ahead.
As a nursing father bears the sucking child onto the land which you sweareth unto their fathers. When should I have flesh to give unto all this people?
Are we gonna sacrifice the whole herd for them? Is that what we gonna do? You gonna feed all these people? See, when we say meat, we thinking flesh. He's like, look, you got stuff to eat. But what we want meat, flesh. And what even makes this worse, and why the people are complaining, it's one thing when Yahweh says you can't eat. It's another thing to be looking at the cow
Man, we eating all this damn light bread. We got Wonder Bread.
That's a cow. How about put some meat in between the bread and we can have a manna sandwich? You got us eating manna as a cow. You do it. Moo to you. That's even worse. See, it's one thing when the food is not available. See? It's something altogether different when you're looking at it. But this is how Yahweh does for the teaching of obedience. Anybody, you ever hear them people who found religion in jail? I know a couple of them. Some they got off drugs in jail. They did all these things in jail, and they come out counting it. Okay, let's see how long that lasts when you get out. See, it's very easy to say that you haven't smoked any crack because there was no crack there. But right down the street behind that car wash, there's plenty of crack. It's easy to say how much you read the Bible when you didn't have nowhere else to go. Let's see how much you read it when you are free to move about. Go ahead.
For they weep unto me, saying, Give us flesh that we may eat. I'm not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if you deal thus with me, kill me, I pray you, out of hand, if I have found favor in your sight, and let me not see my wretchedness. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people.
You see how Yahweh just go past? Sometimes we get to whining, and we get the wars me, and he just went right past it like it didn't. Gather unto me 70 people. He didn't even address the wah. He didn't even address, he just went right past it. Go ahead.
And officers over them. And bring them on to the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with you. And I'll come down and talk with you there, and I'll take of the spirit which is upon you, and will put it upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you bear it not yourself alone.
Right. Now you got these elders, right? But then later on, as you're talking about the spirit being spread out amongst those people, later on, what kind of problems does he still have? They now believe that everybody has the spirit. They're going to keep testing him because now they said that we all holy just like you. They have forgotten where the spirit even came from. You didn't get the spirit from Yahweh per se. You got the spirit that Yahweh took from Moshe and let y'all and spread it out amongst you. Now that helped other people say, you see that? He ain't the only holy one in here. Everybody holy. And people keeping this thought, and it goes on. It is why the deception keeps building. Go ahead.
And say you unto the people, Sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and you shall eat flesh. For you have wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore Yahweh will give you flesh, and you shall eat. You shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it comes out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that you have despised Yahweh which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why came we forth out of Egypt? And Moshe said, The people among whom I am are 600,000 footmen, and you have said, I'll give them flesh, that they may eat a whole month.
Right. So we have whined and begged and pleaded to the point where he said, not only am I going to give it to you, I'm going to give it to you in so much abundance that you're going to get sick of it. Go ahead.
Shall the flocks and the herds be slain for them to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to suffice them? And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Is Yahweh's hand waxed short? You shall see now whether my words shall come to pass unto you or not.
All right, jump to verse 31.
And there went forth a wind from Yahweh, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails.
The yard bird. They got yard bird. They can't figure out why to this day. Our favorite meal is a yard bird. Go ahead.
He that gathered least gathered 10 omers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of Yahweh was kindled against the people, and Yahweh smote the people with a very great plague.
Wow. He's giving you what you asked for. Go ahead.
And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from Kibroth Hattaavah on to Hazeroth, and abode at Hazeroth.
Now, and as we deal with those situations, a lot of those times, Moshe is getting the blame for what Yahweh does. Even though they're saying, give us this, give us that. When Yahweh then punishes them, they blame him. Let's go to Daniel chapter 9. But this affliction that Moshe has to go through is a foreshadowing of the affliction that Yahshua is going to have to go through.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. And I set my face unto the Adonai Elohim, to seek by prayer and supplications, with fasting and sackcloth and ashes.
So then we have to deal with this. He's afflicting himself to help the passage of his prayer. So when we talk about this affliction, he is, I set my face unto the Adonai Elohim to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting, all right? So he's denying himself on the inside, and then sackcloth and ashes. Sackcloth and ashes is to disfigure the outward appearance. So he's fasting inside and out. Go ahead.
And I prayed on to Yahweh, my Elohim, and made my confession, and said, O Adonai, the great and dreadful Elohim, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned, and have committed lawlessness, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even by departing from your precepts and from your judgments.
So then, as he's going through this part of afflicting himself with the fast, then he's coming to Yahweh in pureness of heart, admitting what was done. This is where we have our biggest issue. We'll either do one or the other. We'll fast, but we won't come to Yahweh open-hearted. Or we'll come to Yahweh, but then we won't deny ourselves. Go ahead.
Neither have we hearkened unto your servants the prophets, which spake in your name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Adonai, righteousness belongs unto you, but unto us confusion of face, as at this day, to the men of Yehuda, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither you have driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against you. O Adonai, to us belong confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you. To the Adonai, our Elohim, belongs mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahweh our Elohim to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets.
Right. Our people today say we are not subject to the law. Our forefathers understood. We know why this is happening unto us. Go ahead.
Yes, all Israel have transgressed your law, even by departing, that they might not obey your voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, because you have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven has not been done as has been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moshe, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before Yahweh our Elohim.
And you can only look at that as straight hardiness. Even though all of the things have come upon us, we still won't entreat our Elohim with a pure heart. See, we have to wait until we completely destroy. Then we want to open our mouth. Too late then. Go ahead.
That we might turn from our lawlessness and understand your truth. Therefore has Yahweh watched upon the evil that brought it upon us. And Yahweh our Elohim is righteous in all his works which he does, for we obeyed not his voice. And now, O Adonai our Elohim, that has brought your people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and has gotten you renown, as at this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Adonai, according to all your righteousness, I beseech you, let your anger and your fury be turned away from your city Jerusalem, your holy mountain, because for our sins and for our lawlessness, and for the lawlessness of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people are becoming a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our Elohim, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and cause your face to shine upon your sanctuary that is desolate for the Adonai's sake. O my Elohim, incline your ear and hear, open your eyes, and behold our desolations, and the city which is called by your name. For we do not present our supplications before you for our righteousness, but for your great mercies. O Adonai, hear. O Adonai, forgive. O Adonai, hearken and do. Defer not, for your own sake, O my Elohim, for your city and your people are called by your name.
Saying the things that he's trying to entreat his Elohim in the correct manner. Do it for your holy name's sake, for we are called by your name. See, we don't understand the power of the name that we are called by. Go ahead.
And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sins and the sins of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh my Elohim for the holy mountain of my Elohim, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation.
Even while I was speaking. He ain't done praying and Yahweh already sent it. Go ahead.
And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give you skill and understanding. At the beginning of your supplications, the commandment came forth.
At the beginning of your prayer, the commandment came forth. Go ahead.
And I am come to show you.
I was already sent to you as soon as you start praying. You ain't have to finish. You approached the right way. You had already afflicted yourself before you even started. You approached me the right way. At the time that you started praying, Yahweh had already commanded, go take care of his business. Go ahead.
For you are greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision.
All right. And one of those things, that we have to look at is the affliction and the level of the affliction. You have some of our people who would cover themselves in sackcloth and ashes, and what it was, set to do is disfigure their look, to take away the vanity of appearance. All right? Because, we all have the vanity of our own appearance and how we want to be perceived. What Daniel did was having the sackcloth and ashes, which are an affliction from the outward man, but then you have fasting, which is an affliction from the inward man. So he's taking care of both of those angles. and then approaches unto his Elohim. And before he's even finished praying, the help is already on the way. Let's go to Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9, and we're going to read verses 14 through 29.
Verse 14. And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted him. And he asked the scribes, What question you with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I brought unto you my son, which has a dumb spirit. And wheresoever he takes him, he tears him, and he foams, and gnashes with his teeth, and pines away. And I spake unto your disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answered him, and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him unto him.
How many people would have just left?
I came to get a healing, and then you're gonna say this faithless generation. I mean, that's how you gonna talk to me? Oh, faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? What do you mean? How long shall I suffer you? How you suffering me? How you gonna be a savior? You don't even talk right.
How many of us already done walked away from our blessing? Like our story ends right there. So did you meet the master?
I did, but he hurt my feelings, so I left.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And they brought him unto him. And when he saw him, straightway the spirit tear him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long is it ago since this came on to him? And he said, Of a child. And oftentimes it has cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Yahshua said unto him, If you can believe, all things are possible to him that believes.
You know, you look at this situation from the point of the father having to ask for the son, because obviously the son is not in his right mind to be able to ask for himself. So then you have to consider our situations. At what point do you begin to be in a situation where you're not allowed, or you're not in a position to ask for yourself? Do you have someone near who is in a position to ask for you? But those people not going to ask for you. You treated them people like mess. Those people not praying for you. And this is work on the father. You understand? If his son is not in the right mind, he has to 24 hours a day look after this boy. You know what kind of work that is? Like, how is he able to do his other work? He has to watch this boy. He has to be under complete, constant supervision. This has to be exhausting. Go ahead.
And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Adonai, I believe. Help you mine unbelief. When Yahshua saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him,
All right, stop. So we read about some of these things, right? And what we have is, you know, when Yahshua did some things, we also find some situations where we can outright see that he's questioning these people before he provides this service. You have to wonder how many of them that he did not perform the service because their answers wasn't right. He already said this. I know that some of you just follow because y'all came to eat. See, those are the things you have to wonder. How many people then lost faith
Well, I broke my son. I heard about that. I broke my son, and he didn't heal my boy. So I think he's a fraud. He ain't no Messiah. So what did he say to you? He asked me, did I believe? What'd you say? I said, I believe when you do it.
But then can't figure out why it didn't work for them. Then they go around bad-mouthing him.
He ain't got no gifts. If he had gifts, then my boy would have been healed. I'm going back with the same dumb-spirited boy that I came up there with. I hate I even made the trip. Talking about you see he got some powers. I didn't see none.
Right. So I'm sure all these people didn't get the same outcome. And these are things that we're not considering. What happened? Even when it says, hey, I brought this one unto your disciples and they could not heal him. What about ones that Yeshua decided, oh no, I'm not gonna heal that. See, we don't think that's in there. But why is he asking these questions? He's asking if they are getting an interview. Do you believe? Do you think everybody said yes? See, there's some who came for the spiritual food and others came for the natural food. Yeshua tolerated it up to a certain point, and then he cut it off. Go ahead.
You dumb and deaf spirit, I charge you, come out of him and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried and rent him sore, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, he's dead.
Now, this is where you have to pay attention also to the wording. You deaf and dumb spirit, I charge you, come out of him. What if he stopped right there? Do you understand how important the last words are?
Mm-hmm.
And enter no more into him.
What if the dumb and deaf spirit say, well, I'll leave as long as you standing here, but as soon as you walk away, I'm going right back home. I'm going into him.
Those words are pretty important. So you don't think taking one word out changes. Even in your blessing, you better pay attention to the wording. What happened if he doesn't utter that last part? Then does Yeshua look like a failure? Because the deaf and dumb spirit came out, but then later on, it returned. What causes it to be able to return? Go ahead.
But Yahshua took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting.
Check that out. If you don't afflict yourself in some of these things, you are not going to be successful. Yet we got people walking around saying that atonement is just about not working. He said, you ain't getting rid of this demon here, except by fasting and prayer. I'm telling you, this one right here ain't leaving. Now, it's gonna obey me, but you ain't working with what I'm working with. All right? For you, this is the only way you're gonna get rid of this. So in other words, it was not going to be successful no matter what they did. You can't fast on contact. So they were not going to be able to pull that demon out immediately. That was going to take a process. But when something takes a process, do we still understand that it's Yahweh? See, we need to see something instantaneously to believe that Yahweh did it. What happened if it took a month? What happened if it took 6 months?
Do we then say, you know what, I prayed about it, but you know what I think it was? I had got this special herb. And I think it was that special herb that did, it was herbs and spices, that I think caused his dumbness to go away. I'm gonna start selling this. I'm gonna call it special dumbness herb.
See, if it doesn't happen immediately, we don't know who to get a credit to. So Yahweh will purposely make something take a long time so that he can test you. Let's see who you're going to get a credit to when this comes. Let's see if you're going to think it was your special herbs and spices. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
Yeah, was it verse 29?
Let's go to Leviticus chapter 6. Now, a lot of times we get the second guessing. We get to looking back, now that I think about it. That's when you know you're in trouble right there. That's when you know you're in trouble. Now that I think about it. Yeah. Be careful for you with yourself there with that thinking. Now that I think about it, I think such and such happened. Oh, okay. Leviticus chapter 6, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, If a soul sin and commit a trespass against Yahweh, and lie unto his neighbor in that which was delivered him to keep, or in fellowship, or in a thing taken away by violence, or has deceived his neighbor, or have found that which was lost, and lies concerning it, and sweareth falsely in any of all these that a man does, sinning therein.
Now, that's a sin right there. You have found that which was lost, and then lied and said you didn't find it. And y'all know we got a saying. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
No, I didn't steal it. It came into my possession. It just came in here. I didn't go. I didn't look for it. I wasn't hiding. I didn't duck. I looked and it was there. And then wasn't nobody else there. And I said, it has been given to me.
All right. Now you find out whose it is. You're guilty. You know who that is. But here's the thing. How long have we had the item before we find out that it belongs to somebody else? Shh. Man, that's heavy. Because we done got accustomed to that. Go ahead, brother.
Then it shall be, because he has sinned and is guilty, that he shall restore that which he took violently away, or the thing which he has deceitfully gotten, or that which was delivered him to keep, or the lost thing which he found, or all that about which he has sworn falsely. He shall even restore it in the principal and all, and shall add the fifth part more thereto, and give it unto him to whom it appertaineth in the day of his trespassing offering. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto Yahweh, a ram without blemish out of the flock, with your estimation, for a trespass offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before Yahweh, and it shall be forgiven him for anything of all that he has done in trespassing therein.
Right, but he's got to make that all the way right. He can't do a brother wrong and then go and pray to Yahweh. Say,
That's what we think. You know what? I mean, I'm gonna deal with God.
all right. But it was that brother over there in the third row that you did wrong, though.
But you gonna go? I'm gonna make it right with God.
Oh, yeah? Okay. He not going to accept your offering, though. Because that brother go that you did wrong. But you going to bypass him and just make it right with God. Good luck on that. So that way we don't have to admit any wrongdoing to a man. I can go, and go in my closet. Ain't nobody there.
All right, Yahweh. Ain't nobody here but us, right? I might have done wrong.
What?
I said I might have done wrong.
Right. That way we can maintain the vanity of appearance and not go and humble ourselves in front of that brother or that sister. Go ahead.
I heard an interesting one this week, talking to one of the brothers. He was telling me about some stuff he going through. I said, man, you're going to have to suffer loss for the things you've done, right? But I've been doing good. Bro, that don't matter. You're going to still have to suffer loss for what you've done.
We don't want to, we don't like that suffer loss thing. That suffer loss thing hit us hard. Sometimes, brother, you might be suffering a loss for something you did 20 years ago. Sometimes, man, you look at something and it is something, women have to think about, some men have to think about. What you do in your 20s when you was out dating, and then something happened to one of your kids. You got to remember what you put out there. They might end up receiving that karma. Then we hurt.
Oh, I can't believe they did that to my baby. When?
Hold on. What you do to somebody, baby?
What?
What did you do to somebody's baby? That may have been a big dusty mug to you, but that was somebody's baby. Oh yeah, we won't talk about that. Right. And how many of us gonna be honest when the kids show up going through hell?
I just can't understand why this happening. Come on, sit down. I think I know. What do you mean you think you know? Just sit down.
How many of us gonna be honest? Right. Read, bro.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Command Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the law of the burnt offering. It is the burnt offering. It is the burnt offering because of the burning upon the altar all night unto the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be burning in it. And the priest shall put on his linen garment, and his linen breeches shall he put upon his flesh, and take up the ashes which the fire has consumed with the burnt offering on the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar. And he shall put off his garments, and put on other garments, and carry forth the ashes without the camp unto a clean place. And the fire upon the altar shall be burning in it. It shall not be put out. And the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and lay the burnt offering in order upon it, and he shall burn thereon the fat of the peace offerings. The fire shall ever be burning upon the altar, it shall never go out. And this is the law of the meat offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before Yahweh, before the altar. And he shall take of it his handful of the flour of the meat offering, and of the oil thereof, and all the frankincense which is upon the meat offering, and shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor, even the memorial of it, unto Yahweh. And the remainder thereof shall Aaron and his sons eat. With unleavened bread shall it be eaten in the holy place. In the court of the tabernacle of the congregation they shall eat it. It shall not be baken with leaven. I have given it unto them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, as is the sin offering, and as the trespass offering. All the males among the children of Aaron shall eat of it. It shall be a statute forever in your generations concerning the offerings of Yahweh made by fire. Everyone that touches them shall be holy. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, This is the offering of Aaron and of his sons, which they shall offer unto Yahweh in the day when he is anointed. The 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a meat offering perpetual, half of it in the morning, and half thereof at night. In a pan it shall be made with oil, and when it is baken, you shall bring it in, and the bacon pieces of the meat offering shall you offer for a sweet savor unto Yahweh. And the priest of his sons that is anointed in his stead shall offer it. It is a statute forever unto Yahweh. It shall be wholly burnt.
All right. So then you're going to find that there are certain offerings that are consumed by the priest, and there's others that are burnt fully. The burning of it fully is the symbol of Yahweh consuming those. This is why you have that situation where it says fire came out of heaven and consumed the offering. That's Yahweh. So that when you have certain things, they are burned all the way up. Those Yahwehs. Go ahead.
For every meat offering for the priest shall be wholly burnt. It shall not be eaten.
Every meat offering for the priest. So then understand something. The children of Israel offer an offering unto the priest for their sin. The priest eat it. The offering for the priest, who's above him?
This is what people say. Well, you know, who corrects you?
Who eat his offering? Yahweh. That's why it's got to be burnt fully. It has got to be burnt up. They can't eat his offering. He has to eat theirs, but they can't eat his.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons, saying, This is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is killed, shall the sin offering be killed before Yahweh. It is most holy. The priest that offers it for sin shall eat it. In the holy place shall it be eaten, in the court of the tabernacle of the congregation. Whatsoever shall touch the flesh thereof shall be holy. And when there is sprinkled of the blood thereof upon any garment, you shall wash that whereon it was sprinkled in the holy place. But the earthen vessel wherein it is sodden shall be broken. And if it be sodden in a brazen pot, it shall be both scoured and rinsed in water. All the males among the priests shall eat thereof. It is most holy. And no sin offering, whereof any of the blood is brought into the tabernacle of the congregation to reconcile with all in the holy place, shall be eaten. It shall be burnt in the fire.
So then the question there, a sin offering that is brought to reconcile with all in the holy place, that has to go to Yahweh, then that has to be wholly burnt. Let's read the definition of reconcile.
Kafar, to cover, figuratively, to expiate or condone, to placate or cancel, appease, make an atonement, cleanse, disannul.
Atonement, atone, disannul, cover. Okay, go ahead.
Forgive, be merciful, pacify, pardon, to pitch, purge away, put off, make reconciliation.
Make reconciliation. So then we're starting to really see this picture play out. Let's go to Exodus chapter 32. So if we're going to get to a point where we're going to keep this Day of Atonement, we're going to afflict ourselves. You have to understand how deep the affliction went in redeeming us. You have to look at this affliction, and you can only afflict yourself by taking away something that you desire. You can't take away something that don't mean nothing to you. Dawid says, I cannot offer that unto my Elohim, that which costs me nothing. So if it was nothing to you, it was nothing to him too.
Well, I'm going to give, this right here. But, it ain't really nothing.
Right. And that's just the same thing that it is to him. It was nothing to you, it was nothing to him. You was not afflicted at all, and whatever that was, you offered unto him. See, when we offer unto him and we got to, well, hold on, let me look at my budget. Let me figure this out. Oh, that meant something to you then, did it? Well, now it means something to him. It didn't mean nothing to him, because it didn't mean nothing to you. You give him the leftover change you found in your cup drawer. It meant just as much to him as it meant to you. It didn't mean nothing to you, it didn't mean nothing to him. Brother offered Dawid something. Man, I can't offer that to my Elohim. Why? It didn't cost me nothing. I was not afflicted at all in the offering of that. I can't give him that. It will not be accepted. It cost me nothing. Go ahead.
And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what has become of him.
Right, and that's all it takes for Israel is a pause. Remember, I said earlier, what happened if Yahshua didn't heal somebody right away? What happens? Well, here go the same people. I'll show you what happened. If they didn't see it zip-tang, then we're revolting. What happened when Samuel didn't come at the time appointed? That old crazy King Saul decided he was going to become a priest from being a king. Well, I forced myself because you didn't come at the right time. That's all you got to do with Israel is pause. They're going to show themselves in that pause. Our problem is we are so impatient, we can't pause. Pause for a second. That person in front of you going to reveal themselves. Pause. Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
Right. Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons. So it lets you know that more than just women had earrings. And your daughters, and bring them unto me. Go ahead.
And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
Now, I mean, he was pretty crafty in being able to fashion this, okay? And there's a process in this deception that's happening. And Yahweh's pausing and allowing it to happen. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at it, it says molten calf. This, like you said, is a process. It didn't just happen like that.
No. This, you got, but understand, these people who have been making things for Pharaoh, they got skill, okay? Now they use that skill to make them a molten image. Go ahead.
And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh.
It's amazing that Yahweh let Aaron live. Go ahead.
And they rose up early on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play.
Now, I have heard many variations of what that rose up to play is, and I'm not going into it. But it ain't pretty. That's all I got to say right there. Keep it moving.
You know, brother, you talked about, people who have been drawn away but narrowly seem to escape that being put out.
Yeah.
And that's Iran.
Boy, when you talking about narrow, it don't make no sense why he was living. Go ahead.
And they rose up early on the morrow and
But check this out. How much would that have bothered Moshe? Sometimes somebody's deliverance is not based on anything they've done, but how much it will bother a servant of his. Think about how much this would have bothered Moshe. The only thing he got to count on is Aaron. Everything else done turned on him. Aaron and Joshua. Everybody else is turning. Sister turn. He got to deal with all these things. How much would that have bothered him? Consider the situation with Abraham and Lot. You read and it says things about Lot and his righteous soul, blah, blah, blah. Yahweh preserved Lot because of Abraham. How much would it have bothered? Abraham was willing to go to war for Lot. So how much would it have bothered him? Sometimes people think that they got deliverance on their own merit. Yahweh didn't save Lot because Lot. That was all about Abraham. So then when you ask this question, you have to wonder, he loved Moshe so much, he got some protection that he shouldn't have had. Go ahead.
And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go, get you down, for your people, which you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves.
Now, he could have stopped them before they finished that calf. No, let them finish making the calf. Let them set a feast to the God. Let them go ahead and play. And when you talk about rose up to play, you have to consider what happens in the pagan festivities. You have to understand what happens in their holy days. There's a lot of playing going on. Go ahead.
They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be your gods, O Israel, which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, I've seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
Uh-huh.
Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation.
So, whatever they had done, I understand they made the God. But he's at this point ready to kill off all of Israel and make 12 tribes of Moshe. He is pretty hot about what has happened there. And there's no scriptural basis for what they meant by rose up to play. But I can tell you how the pagans do it. When we even deal with Easter, it is what? A fertility rite. The whole thing is celebrating fertility. Oh, they get downright horrible with their dealings. Go ahead.
And Moshe besought Yahweh his Elohim, and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath wax hot against your people, which you have brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Wherefore should the Egyptians speak and say, for mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against your people. Remember Abraham, Esaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you sware by your own self, and said unto them, I'll multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahweh repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. And Moshe turned and went down from the mount, and the 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides, on the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim graven upon the tables. And when Yahshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moshe, There's a noise of war in the camp. And he said, It is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear.
Oh yeah, they having a good time. You gotta understand, our people were probably the ones that made the Egyptian gods. So they were very accustomed to forming Egyptian gods and things of that nature. We were their servants. So we knew how to make an image. We've been making plenty of them. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as soon as he came near unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moshe's anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount. And he took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire, and ground it to powder and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink of it. And Moshe said unto Aaron, What did this people unto you, that you have brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, Let not the anger of my master wax hot. You know the people, that they're set on mischief. For they said unto me, Make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And I said unto them, Whosoever has any gold, let him break it off. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf. And when Moshe saw the people, and when Moshe saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies, then Moshe stood in the gate of the camp.
Now you have to ask yourself now. Hold on. How far we want to read into this? How far we want to read into this? And when Moshe saw that the people were naked, then you got in parentheses, now did somebody add this part because they wanted to explain nakedness? But we know how it happened with the heathen when they start dealing with certain things. Go ahead.
Then Moshe stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on Yahweh's side? Let him come on to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. And he said unto them, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Put on every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and slay every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moshe. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men.
Right. So then you have this situation. Who was they, going in to slay? Would have been real easy if they was underdressed to figure out which ones to kill. Real easy. Hey, y'all hear about what's going on in Iran? And hey, they had one sister had a video with her head uncovered. I think they shot her in the head, didn't it? The other one, they beat to death. They having demonstrations over there, rioting about the Hajib. So you think you gonna go over there and let your Yaki show? Or your Queen Virgin Remy? Go ahead. It might be the last time it show. Go ahead.
Hey, man, and even posting, because I read this morning where there was two went and sit in a cafe and took a picture and posted a picture. Oh, they went and found them, bro.
Oh, yeah.
They ain't playing around.
Oh, no, they're not playing. See, well, they forgot that Instagram mean instant. They instantly found who grammed that. They went and got, they're not playing. They're not playing. It was very instant. One of them posted a picture with their hair. That was the one of them is no longer with us. For a picture without a head covering. Oh, they came and took care of their business. But see, when people push that culture like that, you got to wonder what's making the people get to the point where they're so bold that they want to walk against the culture. Somebody else's influence coming in.
You have such pretty hair. If I was you, I'd show it. What? This is an oppressive law that says cover your head. You should just let it out. Show it. Show the world.
Then your head big enough to fit in 3 of these chairs after they get through whapping on it. Then you can't find who that was that told you, what was you when they start knocking me on that head? Right. Go ahead.
Verse 29. For Moshe had said, consecrate yourselves today to Yahweh, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moshe said unto the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto Yahweh. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin.
Now I got to deal with this situation. Go ahead.
And Moshe returned unto Yahweh and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray you, out of your book which you have written.
Right. And you have to look at how many times Moshe stood in the breach for them, even putting his own life on the line for their sin. Then you have to consider that when it was time for him to die, that Yahweh wouldn't let him die a regular death. You ain't finna get buried like everybody else. I got plans for you. You done offered yourself up enough. I decided to take up your offer. You coming with me? Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, well, whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book.
Right. You don't have the right to offer up yourself for them. Go ahead.
Therefore now go, lead the people unto the place of which I have spoken unto you. Behold, mine angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit, I will visit their sin upon them.
Right. In the day. Now, I'm going to deal with this later. How many things are we now receiving that is the later because of some other things that we've already done? See, we forget what we've put out there. When it comes back, then we got this woe is me thing. Do you remember what you put out? It says you shall reap that which you have sown. You are going to grow whatever you planted. What did you plant? Then you got to deal with the affliction that comes with what you planted. And that's before you make it over the hill to the other side. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Colossians. And we're going to go to chapter 1 and start that at verse 1.
Colossians chapter 1 and verse 1. Saul, an apostle of Yahshua HaMashiach by the will of Elohim, and Timotheus, our brother, to the saints and faithful brethren in the Mashiach, which are at Colossae. Grace be unto you and peace from Elohim our Father and the Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach. We give thanks to Elohim and the Father of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, praying always for you. Since we heard of your faith in the Mashiach Yahshua, and of the love which you have to all the saints, for the hope which is laid up for you in heaven, whereof you heard before in the word of the truth of the gospel, which is come unto you, as it is in all the world, and bringeth forth fruit, as it does also in you, since the day you heard of it, and knew the grace of Elohim in truth. As you also learned of Epaphras, our dear fellow servant, who is for you a faithful minister of the Mashiach, who also declared unto us your love in the Spirit. For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you, and to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding.
In the knowledge of his will. There is the thing where we kind of get caught up in knowledge, but there's a little bit more to that, the knowledge of his will. So there's a whole lot of things that we may pray for. And what we have to, the big question is, if it is in his will to perform that particular thing. There's righteous people who have passed away in this book. It was not his will to redeem those people at that point. They get their redemption later. When you start talking about all of this first fruit who are awakened, who you think they're talking about? This is people who have died in the Adonai. Go ahead.
That you might walk worthy of the Adonai unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of Elohim.
Are we being fruitful in every good work? See, we know how to be fruitful in a bad work. Are we being fruitful in a good work? Go ahead.
Strengthened with all might, according to his glorious power, unto all patience and long-suffering with joyfulness, giving thanks unto the Father, which has made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who has delivered us from the power of darkness, and has translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible El, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
And now, this throws a lot of people off, and this is why we have a lot of those doctrines of that the Messiah is the Son and the Father, because they get into the point where it says he created everything, but they miss the beginning where it says let us create. So they then believe that because he created it, that he must be the Father, when what he says is completely opposite. You have to consider why he is the one who has to be sacrificed for our redemption. Yahweh didn't come and get crucified. Go ahead.
And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself, by him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven.
So whenever you see the reconcile or reconciliation, you are now dealing with kafar, which is covering. So you're dealing with atonement when you see reconciliation. Go ahead.
And you, that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now have been reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. If you continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which you have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Saul, am made a minister, who now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of the Mashiach in my flesh for his body's sake, which is the church, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of Elohim, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of Elohim, even the mystery which has been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints, to whom Elohim would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is the Mashiach in you, the hope of glory, whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom.
Warning every man and teaching every man. Go ahead.
That we may present every man perfect in the Mashiach Yahshua, whereunto I also labor, striving according to his working, which worketh in me mightily.
All right. So let us consider these things about afflicting our souls. If we go into all of these other things that have been done, then we should have an understanding of why we need to afflict ourselves. And the very first thing, the one thing that we all have in common is we all got to eat. You may be on this side of town or that side of town. You live this way. You drive this kind of car. At the end of the day, the one thing we all have in common is that we have to eat. And nothing like it. You know, we just saw this hurricane come through down in Florida and then go on the East Coast. When all of those things happen, all of those people have the same needs. Whether you were rich or poor, you find yourself standing in that same line for water. And sometimes it takes that for some people to realize that your pomp and circumstance amounts to nothing when the power of Yahweh comes into the mix. All the money you save don't mean nothing. The bank ain't open. None of that means anything. All that is something that just makes you feel good inside your head. But it really doesn't matter because you can't get to it anyway. So let us consider that as we prepare to keep the Day of Atonement, which is going to be Tuesday night. And we will then be fasting from even to even. So we will begin at the point, and that sermon will start that Tuesday night. We should have Wednesday off. If you were able to get it off, I tell people, hey, we still in the daughter of Babylon. Sometimes you're not able to get all of those things. That's part of our punishment. In our land, ain't nobody got to add. We got to use our PTO for our holiday. That's going to be unheard of when we get in our land. Bottom line is Yahweh's holy day. Ain't nobody working. They don't have to ask for Christmas off. They get the kids a whole 2.5 weeks off to worship festivals. So we do what we can do, but that doesn't mean that we just get to the point where we're not trying. We gotta try and do that. Also, try and hydrate yourselves beforehand. You do not want to be dehydrated, and those who are on medication, you have to consider whether or not you want to go
a full 24 hours and you need to take medication. There's some medicine that you just cannot take on an empty stomach. Then you need to consume enough that you are able to take your medication. All right? A fast is a fast. You can fast from anything, okay? We just know food is the thing that we like across the board, no matter what other interests we have. But you don't push that to the point when you have medical issues and you got to take medicine. You have to eat to take that medicine. This does not mean that you order a rack of lamb.
So I said I had to eat. Come on, bring that. You got some more gravy? Y'all got some gravy in there? Here's some gravy. Oh, yes, bring it on. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I got all the gravy. I want all of them. All your sauces, specials, all the spices, everything. Bring all that. Because Sock said,
Eat only that what you have to eat to take your medication. All right? Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.